Today we're going to talk about agoraphobia, the fear of going outside or being in crowded spaces. Now, I don't know if many of you actually knew that I had agoraphobia. I was afraid of leaving the house. I write this in my new book. And I talk about the time I was in a deep depression too. It wasn't just the depression that kept me inside. It was a time during my miscarriage. But it was because I was actually afraid of leaving the house. This was the time I had a really bad miscarriage that I go into detail about in my new book. And I was home. I was bleeding for months because the doctors didn't give me a D and C and clear me out. So I still had old, I don't know what you want to call it, fetal matter in me, embryonic matter. I still had tissue, pregnancy tissue. Left over from when I miscarried. And I grew very fat. All I did was eat and sleep and watch the Food Network. So I watched all the cooking shows. I still had to go to the doctors because I was still trying to get pregnant at the time. And they had to keep checking my HCG levels. That's the pregnancy hormone. Because they kept testing positive, though I wasn't pregnant. And the fact that I was continually bleeding, like for months. I was just really, really frightened. Like, if I had to go to the doctors, I would just hop in the car with my husband. I wouldn't even drive myself. I'd hop in the car and, like, run into the doctors, and then hop in the car and, like, make sure no one was around that I knew, and run out and run into the house. When I was younger too, I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to be seen by anyone. I hid myself in my room. I was never really diagnosed with this because I never went to psychologists back then to be diagnosed with anything. I didn't know I had borderline personality disorder. I figured that on my own, but it was confirmed by 2 psychologists. Not that I trust those doctors, but... So let's talk about that. Maybe you might experience that, or maybe you don't like crowded places. I know both me and my son hate crowded places, you know? Hate any place that's like really jam-packed with people. So like we wouldn't really do good at a concert or like a nightclub. I'm not so bad with that now because when I went to Paris and I went to the Palace of Versailles, yeah, King Louis XIV's gold, the King of Gold's palace. That was mobbed. I'm telling you, like, my nose was in someone's back, okay? It was that mobbed. So I've gotten better. I've gotten more confidence. That's the thing. I've gotten more confident in myself and less frightened of things in the outside world. But it's a horrible, horrible feeling because I've lived through that fear, you know. I've had that, you know, phobia where I was afraid of leaving the house, where I was afraid to, you know, to be, you know, around anyone. I was really frightened. It's a horrible feeling, you know. I would just, like, you know, dart in and dart out when I absolutely had to leave the house, and I just stayed in the house. I was in a deep depression, but I think when you're in a deep depression, it's a little bit different than being afraid to leave the house. It's just like you just have like no will to even get out of bed. It's like a struggle. It's more of a struggle just to do the ordinary things. I had no confidence in myself because I was grossly obese. I was like, I went up to 200 pounds at one point. No one believes me. No, you did. And I'm only 5'2". I gained a lot of weight. I really felt ugly, and I felt, I was ashamed. I really felt ashamed of myself and my body because my body was not working. It was supposed to, it let me down. I wasn't ovulating. I had fertility problems, and I just felt fat, ugly, and I felt like a failure. Like my body wasn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. I was like in my 20s, and I was supposed, I wanted to have a baby, and my body couldn't do that. So I felt like a failure. Like I can't even do what comes naturally. Like like the birds and the bees, right? Like what cats and dogs and bunny rabbits especially. Like I can't even do what, animals do. I can't even breed. I can't even, because my husband, this is funny, my husband also went to the fertility doctor because when a couple is infertile, they test both the man and the woman, not just the woman, because the husband can have problems too with his sperm count. You know what the doctor said to my husband? He said, blast off. My husband had so much sperm. He said, you're certainly not the problem. That's what he said. He said, blast off. That my husband had copious amounts of, he had a very high sperm count. So it wasn't him. It was me. I had the fertility problem. So then again, I felt like a failure. I was a failure in life. I had lost my job at the engineering firm. I just felt like a failure. I couldn't do. Everyone around me was having babies, okay? Because I was in my mid-20s, and everyone I knew was having babies. My sister-in-laws were having babies. My friends were having babies. Like everyone, my nemesis, Rebecca. You know what's really upsetting? My mother's best friend's daughter that she was like this close to. She had a baby, and she named it Sarah, and that's the name I picked out for the baby that I lost, Sarah Margaret. It's all in my book. But I don't know if these things contributed to my, fear of leaving the house. I just think that I got in a deep depression, and I grew more and more fearful. I grew more and more insecure. And I think when you go through things like this, a depression or these phobias or anything, I think the best thing for a person to do is to leave the house, even for a short time. Just to go out and get some fresh air, just to go for a short walk or something, just to get out and get some fresh air. Or go on a vacation. You know what helped me? I'll tell you what helped me get kind of out of my funk. Me and my husband went away. Was that when we went away to Vermont, I believe? We went away to Vermont. And that helped me. Vermont is all green. And it was nice. And it kind of helped me get out of my phobia. I think that helps too if you go away somewhere, maybe somewhere secluded, somewhere that, there isn't a lot of people. You don't go to Disney World or some place like that, like a crowded theme park. But if you go somewhere maybe somewhere in New England, like the White Mountains or something, somewhere where you can just get away, get out in nature. I've mentioned nature before in my videos, and nature always helps calm me down. Look at Ralph Waldo Emerson. Nature has a way. Look at Emily Dickinson. Look at these other people. Nature has a way of, it brings the poet out in people. But if you can get away, out of your own natural surroundings, your environment, into a more, woodsy, kind of like earthy, country, and kind of secluded spot, I think it really can help your mental state. It did for me. I'm only going to tell you what works for me. And when I had that problem where I was afraid of leaving the house and I was in a deep depression and I hated myself, I just couldn't look in the mirror anymore. I didn't want to live anymore. My body was failing me. I couldn't do what every other, all the other women were doing at my age, couldn't make a baby. I had acne all over my face. I had acne until I was like almost 50. I'm not kidding you. I had zits in my late 40s. In fact, my face isn't oily now, almost at 60. I think after I turned like maybe 55, after my mid 50s, my face cleared up. I don't have I have eye makeup on, right? But there's nothing, no foundation. There's absolutely no blush, foundation, just eye makeup. But before, I used to wear thick to cover all my dots. I just felt horrible. And I didn't want anyone to see me. I was embarrassed of myself. Have you ever been embarrassed of yourself that you didn't want anyone to see you? Oh, it was horrible. I used to like dart in and out of the car, like look around. Anyone I know? Okay, boom, get in the car, and then, that's only if it was necessary for me to leave. But like when I had a doctor's appointment. But when I went on that vacation to Vermont, I'm telling you, it helps. I think everyone should take like a vacation like that. Even I think it was only a weekend, right? It's not expensive. It's just Vermont isn't that far away. We drove. My husband drove. That isn't. It's not that much. It just stayed in a nice little inn, and I think that kind of it kind of picked me up. It got me out of the house, physically out of the house, and I think it helped me. It helped me a little bit more, It's just like these baby steps, like with anything else, just like with my drinking. It's these baby steps, I'm telling you. I used to drink like 4 or 5 vodka drinks every day. Now I'm down to 2.5 glasses of wine every day. I know that's still a lot to some people, like, you drink 2 glasses of wine every day? Maybe 1 glass would be okay, but 2? But when you compare it to what I was doing, I was drinking like 4 or 5 vodka drinks, 40% alcohol. I was, that's a lot of, that's heavy, that's 40%. And I actually drank the 50% vodka. They have Smirnoff 50%, so I was even drinking heavier than 40%. That's a lot of alcohol. It's just like if someone says, well, you're still fat, and you say, well, Jesus, I lost 25 pounds. I'm a lot lighter than I was before, They don't understand where you're coming from. Don't ever let anyone put you down. You are where you're supposed to be, Every day is another step toward your goal, and just don't put a timeline on yourself, If you can just step outside and take like, on your porch and like have your face in the sun and just take breathe in the air, see squirrels chasing each other, or, listen to the birds sing. And just for 5 or 10 minutes that day, then that's a major accomplishment, You don't have to, go out to a party and spend hours outdoors or something at a shopping mall, If you just take those little steps, it will help. If you can't even do that, then open a window, stick your head out the window, try to do something small. Try to breathe in that air. And I really recommend, if you're in a depression or you're afraid to leave the house or anything, go on a nice country vacation alone with, with either your partner or a best friend or your sister, whoever you feel very close to, and just like go out in the country somewhere like secluded, not going to be expensive, and it will help you. It will help you to be out in nature, away from your, your environment, away from your place, away from, get away. Some people you just need to get away, and I did that when at the height of my depression and agoraphobia and, obesity and anxiety. I got away and I went to Vermont, and it helped me immensely. It did. So these little baby steps, go at your own speed. Don't listen to anybody else. Go at your own pace. But I think it helps just to breathe in the fresh air in whatever way that you can. And in time, I got over it, So I wish you the best too. Let me know in the comments if you've suffered anything like that yourself. Okay. Have a great day. Take care.